scary for Dean. Dean freaks out.
I think we've broken our streak.
But yeah, we'll get there.
Okay.
But Sam says that he's okay. He tells Dean he saw an angel. He doesn't want to drink from Dean's flask because he's like had a religious experience, so he doesn't want to consume alcohol.
Fair.
I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with consuming alcohol, but if that's your choice, then like on how you want to be religious, then that's your choice. Good for Sam.
There are some like Christian denominations that prohibit it outright, like mine.
I'm sure Sam's liver appreciates it.
Yeah.
Drink some water. Sam tries to explain that like he had a feeling of grace and peace washed over him, and Dean's like, it was a ghost, but Sam's convinced it's an angel, and Sam says that the person that he's going to be asked to kill hasn't done anything wrong yet, but will, which makes Dean counter with, Sam, you're actually supposed to be like doing something bad, and by that logic I should kill you. And I'm like, because yeah, that's True. What Gordon said 3 episodes ago. Like Gordon would try to murder you 3 episodes by that exact logic.
Yeah.
I do feel like Sam has a little bit of like a chosen one complex, though.
Yes,
and
he does.
Think
Absolutely.
That we see that even in his own expression of faith, which I feel like we'll probably want to break down later. But yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, fair enough. I mean, based on how every single person who knows that Sam's like got these powers has talked about them, like of course he does.
Yeah.
But anyways, Sam's really frustrated by the fact that Dean won't even consider angels as a possibility, that they should maybe stop hunting this thing. And Dean says he's sure that having faith makes things easier for Sam, but like their mom had faith in God and angels, and now she's dead, so that's not for him. I think that might be the most normal grief reaction Dean's had this far regarding Mary's death.
Yeah, and it's one that a lot of people have experienced.
Yeah, I feel like that is like a very common feeling for people.
Because like going through a tragedy can either strengthen your faith because you rely on God to get through it, or it can just shatter your faith because you feel like it shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
And I think both are valid.
Dean says the very last thing that his mom ever said to him was that angels were watching over him, and that was a lie. And I'm like, but it wasn't, baby.
Oh.
It just wasn't. But he needs to see some hard proof to believe in it. But the only proof he's seen points him to a spirit in this case. And I'm like, you're gonna see a lot in your time, Dean Winchester. But you haven't seen it yet, so valid.
You're a baby right now.
There's wormwood growing around Father Gregory's grave, and apparently that's associated with the restless dead. Apparently this plant isn't wormwood. This is like the only time it's ever mentioned. But okay, whatever. If it gets us to ghost, fine.
Yay!
So Dean decides to hold a seance in the church, and Dean makes a Whoopi Goldberg joke.
It's really funny.
Is that like a sister act joke, or has Whoopi Goldberg also played some like a medium or something?
She was a medium in Ghost, I think. That movie with Patrick Swayze.
Oh yeah, of course.
I've never seen it, but I know she was in it.
That would totally make sense. I don't know why I didn't think of that. And of course Dean would make a ghost joke. Dean loves Swayze.
Well, yeah.
Sam made the joke about Whoopi Goldberg, not Dean. Because Dean was a little bit salty about the joke, but I think he was just mad that Sam said the joke first, because that's exactly the kind of joke that Dean would usually make. So I think he was just mad that Sam made a funny joke. Dean says that one of the perks of their job is they don't have to operate on faith, and I'm like, ooh, we're getting too close to Gordon's pitch if we only have to see the world in black and white. No shades of gray here speech.
Nervous laughter.
Yeah.
And that's too much. Dean really has gone back and forth on that whole thing so many times this season. It's hard to keep track of where he's at with it. It's a lot for me. But Sam agrees to do the seance to confirm. He's like, well, like, you know, if we do a seance and nothing happens, then I guess we'll entertain Angel. But if we do a seance and Ghost appears, then we know it's a ghost. Like, no downside. If it's not a ghost, nothing will happen. When they go to get the things for the seance, Sam describes their less than traditional supplies as ghetto, which, Sam, you were absolutely not allowed to say.
No.
I know that this was 2007, but that word is absolutely racist and would not be okay, and it's very uncharacteristic of Sam.
Also, this is Rhode Island, which I think is like Connecticut in terms of the demographics, so no one in most of Rhode Island should be.
As we established 2 weeks ago when we had a Connecticut episode, it's white. It's white up there.
Can confirm. I'm from Connecticut. Yeah.
We have an expert opinion.
Last time I looked, my particular town was clocking in at 98.2% white.
It's really funny.
Yeah.
And Sam is definitely white. That's definitely not okay. You could have just said half-assed, because they're using a SpongeBob placemat for an altar cloth, which is a little bit stretching the definition of altar cloth.
Yeah.
Dean's like, just flip it over. Put the sponge upside down.
You could honestly just go to the store and get a white towel instead of that.
Yeah, you'd be doing better than SpongeBob placemat.
That's what we did at my house when we had to do like the sacrament over COVID, and my dad had to bless it. We just used like a white doily kind of thing.
Yeah, there was definitely, I guarantee, better options than SpongeBob placemat. That'd be really especially disrespectful considering they're gonna go do a seance in a church and summon the ghost of a priest. Like,
there's just so much wrong with this, but also it's really, really hilarious because it's a SpongeBob placemat.
It is excellent. I'm so surprised that they were allowed to say SpongeBob.
I wonder how hard they had to fight. Like, no, the joke is too good.
Sam then sees a light around a dude, the sign from his so-called angel that's the guy who needs to get stabbed in the heart. Dean takes some really good actions here, I thought. I really like this plan he comes up with on the spot. He gets in the Impala and he follows the guy and he sends Sam back to the church to do the seance. The guy in question has a Ford Crown Victoria, the most commonly used police vehicle, especially on TV. I know this because my brother and my dad both used to drive one. My brother inherited his from my grandparents. It's like the one car that I can readily identify.
Aside from a 67 Chevy Impala.
Yeah, it's like the one car where if I saw one drive down the road, I'm like, that's a Crown Victoria.
Nice.
And it's because, I've had a few in my life. Sam does put the placemat at SpongeBob side down, so we don't see the SpongeBob. I feel like that's how they got around it, was they never actually showed SpongeBob. Father Reynolds walks in on him doing his little seance, and he is not happy that Sam is doing a seance in a church. But before he can get too mad about it, the ghost of Father Gregory appears in a blinding white light, and you can literally see the hope in Sam's eyes just die. Like, aww, I felt so bad for him.
Me too. Aww. Still, it's really funny that the priest killing people is a ginger. Like, he has a soul, but what is he using it for?
Oh no.
Father Gregory is played by David Monahan, who played Toby Barrett in 8 episodes of Dawson's Creek and Bernard in Big Little Lies. He's also a TV writer. He wrote 4 episodes of Ginny and Georgia and 11 episodes of Liv and Maddie, plus 44 episodes as a staff writer and a story editor on Liv and Maddie as well.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, I was just like, this guy looks familiar, and I don't think I actually know him from anywhere, but those are some things that he did that I am aware of.
Cool.
Dean is still following the suspected bad dude as Sam informs Father Gregory that he's a ghost and not an angel, and it's time for him to lay himself to rest.
It was really emotional.
It was very... I felt really bad for Sam, actually. I think Jared did an excellent job in that scene.
I felt kind of bad for Father Gregory.
Me too! Father Gregory also was very upset to learn he wasn't an angel. Father Gregory says he's offering these people redemption, and some people need redemption, don't they, Sam? Like, whoa. And the people that they are killing are evil and past redemption. And Father Reynolds is like, this is vengeance. Men cannot be angels. He prayed for God's help, but this is not God's will. There's that big old commandment, thou shalt not kill. And it's not open to a lot of interpretation. Like, that's a pretty hard and fast, don't kill anybody rule.
Yeah, it is.
A bad dude has picked up a woman, and he immediately gets violent with her, so Dean busts in his windshield and gets the woman out of the car. This, plus the Dean being horrified that a man was grooming a 13-year-old, has really made me forget that Dean called a woman a hooker twice in this episode. I feel like he's repaid his debt to women.
You're redeeming
has also
yourself.
Been redeemed.
Yes.
There we go.
The guy drives off, so Dean leaves this poor woman that he just rescued on the side of the road to call 911 and takes off after him. Like, I get that guy needed to be taken off after, but like, he just left this woman who just got assaulted on the side of the road.
Right.
Yeah.
So that happens.
I mean, she probably wouldn't have wanted to come on the car chase with him.
But like,
I
just
feel
abandoned who knows where.
I know. And like the middle of it looked like
it was
streets
nighttime,
full of storage units in the dark.
It
with
didn't look
no
like a safe
street
place.
Lights, not safe.
No.
And what is apparently crime-ridden Rhode Island.
Yeah, Sam was gonna walk back to the church, so they obviously weren't that far from the church either, which we know is in a bad neighborhood.
So, anyway, we'll continue, I think.
Father Reynolds gives Father Gregory last rites to help put his spirit to rest, and I'm glad that they didn't have to torch his bones. I feel like that would have been a lot, so I'm glad that the giving of last rites was enough to put him to rest. They call in the Archangel Raphael, Master of the Air, and it's nice to know one thing that Raphael does, because I don't know anything that, I know what Gabriel and Michael and Lucifer are all known for, and Raphael is just the 4th one. But he's the master of the air, and it's nice to know that.
Yeah.
And Father Gregory disappears into white light. Back to Dean's full-on car chase. You are not a cop, Dean Winchester. I know you pretend to be one all the time, but you are literally not a cop.
Yeah.
The guy goes off the road, so Dean, follows, like you do. And the guy ends up back on the road behind a pickup, which swerves in a totally unrelated accident of someone else not knowing how intersections work. And a pipe goes flying. Properly secure your load before driving, by the way.
Yeah, come on. You might accidentally kill a pervert.
Yeah, I mean, or just someone who is an innocent bystander.
That happens too.
So just secure your load so it doesn't happen. But it goes through the windshield and kills the bad guy. We never get a name for this guy, so he's just the bad dude in my notes.
He doesn't need one.
He doesn't need one. He's the bad dude. Dean arrives back at the motel where Sam is folding his clothes, and Sam is really sad that Dean was right about Father Gregory. But Dean takes a drink, and this time so does Sam. And Sam says he really wanted to believe. Their lives are so hard, he just wants to believe that with all the evil in the world and his big bad destiny looming over them, that someone else is out there. Knocking on Heaven's Door starts playing, and this is going to be a callback the next time we hear Knocking on Heaven's Door. We're going to want to remember this conversation.
Oh.
And Dean says that Sam doesn't need to worry about the evil and the destiny because Dean is looking out for him, which Sam says, yeah, that's great and I appreciate it, but you're just one person and I really need to believe that some higher power or greater good was watching out for me and maybe I could be saved. There are literally tears in his eyes as he is saying this, and he starts to agree with Dean that they need to believe what they can see.
Oh no.
And Dean's like, well, actually, about believing what you can see, Father Gregory was right about that guy doing something bad. I barely saved that girl, and I did see something that I don't know how to describe. He's like, I don't know, I didn't kill that guy, but he's dead. And I wouldn't have believed that that guy died how he died if I hadn't seen it himself. This would be the kind of, death that would bring them to town if they weren't in town.
Yeah.
Dean the only way he can think to describe this is God's will. I honestly misremembered what that was. Dean says God will, but in my head, I remember it being act of God. And I don't know what the difference was in my brain, but God's will didn't feel as good.
Well.
And then it fades to black, and the episode just kind of ends there.
I think one thing I like about this episode is that we kind of end on this ambiguous note.
Yeah, where they're both kind of I guess you were kind of right, and I was kind of wrong.
Yeah, because I think, I don't know, it validates both points of view. It's saying it's not bad if you want to believe in God, and it's not bad if you don't.
It validates both their point of views without making either of them feel validated.
Yeah.
But they both feel wrong. They both feel incorrect.
Yeah, because if you don't believe in God, there's material for you there. And if you do believe in God, there's lots of things for you.
Yeah. I mean, the show is going to make a hard stance on God and angels and all of that in 2 seasons, but...
Yeah, I think they do better here than they do better with that, but that's me.
Ooh. Yeah, hard-ish stance for the rest of the season. They like to flip-flop a little bit.
Yeah, and it's well established that I'm an atheist, so I feel like I can take the things that Supernatural does with religion at a narrative value, and I have no personal stake in how they talk about it at really any point. I have no personal beliefs or feelings on it, so I feel I don't know. For me, it's just kind of meh.
With me, it's just so different from what I believe and what I've been taught that I can separate it. I still get kind of annoyed sometimes, but anyway, that's just me. But yeah, I can separate Supernatural from what I actually believe very easily because it's just so different.
Yeah, and that's totally fair. Same. I have a 0 baseline, so there's no separation even required.
Sometimes it's a little harder for me just because of some of the things they'll allude to, but I feel this episode was very fair because it was kind of making the point that sometimes you're being naive about having all of this hope, that you're thinking it's an angel and it's really not, but also sometimes miracle-ish things do happen, so...
Yeah, they just don't happen the way you expect them to. It's not quite as heavy-handed.
There's something Father Gregory fully believing he was an avenging angel, and then turns out he's just not. That was really sad, but impactful, I think, and great storytelling.
I did have a question though.
Yeah,
I was always taught that angels are us, that we live on Earth first, and then when we die, we become angels. Is that not a thing in other churches?
I think that's not. I think like angels and people are very separate in some Christian denominations. I'm not like an expert at all by any means, but
I used to get confused.
Wasn't really mentioned in ours. Yeah,
I feel like I was reading something about this episode specifically where they are separate.
Yeah, I used to get confused with the term saint because I was like, how can you have these human saints but then also like Saint Michael? But apparently saint just means holy.
Two different Michaels.
No,
well,
same guy.
Same guys, but
yeah.